A good old-fashioned Aussie g'day to everybody, and I'm going to say an Aussie g'day, but this is a very much... Stephen Colber's joining. This is very much an international, I guess, collective. The whole goal here is to have educators' voices, a community of educators from the Asia-Pacific region, and help us as a region echo our voices, echo the challenges, echo the stories from around our region, from around our classrooms, from the places in which we work, and echo that around the globe. So very excited to have a fantastic collective of APACsplash. Let's make a splash in education together. APACsplash authors. And look, I want to introduce, before we actually kick off, Matt Joseph, I want to hand the microphone over to you, because I wonder if you can help give us a little taste of how this all came together, give us a little bit of an insight on what this is about, and then we'll have our TeachMeet and we'll share some knowledge, share some learning. We're going to have a fantastic day.
Absolutely. This actually came about 4 years ago when I met Brett outside of a bar in Austin, Texas, just for the first time, sharing a drink and be like, hey, what's up, mate? And I'm like, what's up, buddy? And we just became fast friends since then, and have seen each other a few times in a few different countries. And what's been inspiring to me is how he continues to push education, push me as a friend and as an educator. And the way we got to here was that, so for those of you I haven't met internationally, I actually tried to participate in as many Aussie Ed chats or Teach Like a Pirate Down Under. It was just a fun time for me. At that time, they were Sunday mornings here in the States at, depending on the time change, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., who knows. And I started to do some speaking and writing, and I signed with Codebreaker with Brian Aspinall and released a book, The Power of Connections. And throughout the book, it was talking about how to expand our connections to more than just within our own zip code or postal code or whatever you would call it in whatever country you're in, and outside of our own school district, outside of our own country. And Brett and I started to bounce ideas around how to expand that outside. I'm from Boston, near the Boston area in the United States. And over the summer, I launched a publishing company, X Factor Publishing, and we've started to release some books in the States. And through that, Brett said, well, how can we amplify some of our international authors? And we started to kick around different ideas. And I said, let's just start talking about creating some books for our international team. And from there, we started to reach out to individuals, and they took the blind faith of like, who is this New Englander and this Aussie trying to do something? And we had a few meetings, a few brainstorming sessions, and it is May 28th, at least for me. I think it's May 29th for some of you. And here we go. We're ready to kick off and amplify voices, get some books out that are going to support educators, support teachers, support families to make this profession better through authentic voices in the field.
That's a perfect summary, Matt, and thanks so much. In the spirit of this being a relatively fast-paced TeachMeet, authentic TeachMeet style, I'm going to pass quickly over to James, because James, I'd love to let you've been our grand master of keeping track of all our registrations and everything, and I know we've launched with a very international splash straight away. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how we've gone so far.
One of the nice things is that I run TeachMeet Kuala Lumpur, and that has grown and grown. So it's lovely that to see all my Malaysian friends here, and it's lovely to see everybody from around Asia Pacific. So that is absolutely fantastic, and just really want to say thank you to everybody who's coming. And just one quick announcement to say that TeachMeet Kuala Lumpur should be back in person in the next academic year, and we're hoping for October, November start, maybe something in August. So looking forward to meeting people in person, hopefully, shall we say, October. And thank you, everyone, for coming from all around this region.
Thanks so much. We might jump to the very next slide, James, if you can do that for me. What we are going to do here, you can see a little QR code for those of you. Pick up your phones and maybe have a little look at what I've got set there for us. But I want to do something that is very much part of the tradition here in Australia, and that's where we have an acknowledgement of country. when we have our acknowledgement of country, we really take a time, pause for a moment, and look, do you know what? I'll put a link in the chat in a second because I'm a little bit hopeless and I can't do two things at once. But I will put that in there. But salakis.me/Uluru will take you to where it needs to be. If someone knows how to spell Salakis and Uluru, maybe they can type that for me. Salakis.me/Uluru. And at this time, when we have an acknowledgement of country in Australia, we actually pause whenever we come together and we acknowledge our First Nations people. Now, I'm sitting here in Sydney. Just down the road from me, I've got the Parramatta River. The mouth of the Parramatta River is a significant place, actually called Parramatta. That suburb comes from the Aboriginal word Barramutta. So the Barramutigal people is the Barra, meaning eel, and Mutta, meaning place of. So Parramatta gets its name from the people there, the place of the eel, and we've got the Parramatta River that actually feeds the beautiful Sydney Harbour, fills the gorgeous Sydney Harbour, in which certainly I live. But I want to take a moment to acknowledge the First Nations people from all of the lands that we are currently meeting on, and all of the lands around the globe. We know that our First Nations peoples were the very first educators on the lands that we now walk, and we really do, as educators, we walk in their footsteps. We share stories, we share knowledge, we pass learning from generation to generation. So it is in our First Nations brothers and sisters' footsteps that we walk. Maz was reminding me just a few moments ago to make sure a significant week in Australia. We've got a reconciliation week where we are very much focused in Australia about reconciling with our First Nations people this week. But look, I've got there that little QR code. So we're talking a little bit of technology here as well. Have a look there, enter the VR, have a look around the beautiful heart of Australia. It is connection to our land, connection to our people. Kelly, I was talking to you earlier about connection to community, and it's that connection, that bond to our land, our people, our culture, our community, in which we pass that on from generation to generation. So very important to be able to pause, acknowledge our First Nations brothers and sisters, and really acknowledge that us as educators have such a crucial role in passing that respect, passing that knowledge, passing that learning onto the next generation. Might ask Michael, do you want to have a few words from across the ditch over in New Zealand as well? Kia ora, my brother.
Yes, kia ora. Hari mai from Maturanga Waiwai, actually. Turanganui Kiwa Gisborne. That's actually the first place with contact between the European people and the native Maori people. Actually was here in 1769. And also, I'd just like to, so in New Zealand, we usually start with something called a karakia, essentially a prayer which settles the meeting and basically directs of how the meeting will go. So I'll just go through that quickly. So, kia hora ti marino, kia whakapapa punamu ti moana, hi huarahi mā tato i te rangi nei, aroha atu, araho mai, tato a tato katoa, which means in English, may peace be widespread, may the sea be like greenstone, a pathway for us all on this day, give love, receive love, let us show respect to each other. So tēnā koto katoa to whānati ao, our world family.
Thank you so much, my brother. Look, and it's fantastic to be joining my sister teachers, my brother teachers here today, as we're going to launch this concept of our APACsplash, our APAC Educator Series. And together, hopefully, we can echo those voices, our historical, ancient lessons, but our modern lessons too. And I've got something a little bit modern that I'm going to share with you. So I can go on the clock now, James. If you give me my next slide, you can start my timer at 2 minutes, because we're going to be nice and sharp. We're going to have a few different people come up and share something. And look, I'm actually working on a few books that are going to be coming out in the moment, but I want to give you a poem that's going to be featured in one of them, and it's a digital inquiry poem. So I need you to have your poetry slam finger snaps nice and ready for me. And here we go. And I'm getting old, so I have to take my glasses off so I can actually read my poem. But here we are. So digital inquiry. Ancient lessons repeated annually are left behind. Old words and photocopied instructions act as flaccid chains of tedious impotence printed onto A4 sheets of paper. New words promoting digital inquiry sound strong like Hercules, thought-provoking and sure to please. The teacher calls to her students, climb aboard. I'm a runaway locomotive. I'm a high-speed word train about to collide with your tympanic membrane. Provocations are laid gently like Eric Carle's eggs on a full moon night. Curiosity hatches, and like a very hungry caterpillar, it devours information as if it's three plums on a warm Wednesday morning. Stand back. Students are going online. Their brains are engaged and the learning's sublime. Information flow has now begun. To the teacher, it is poetry. To the student, it is poetry. Try because the effort is real. As they toil, they wrestle with understanding like an anaconda drowning them in a sea of comprehension. Impersonating Tarzan, the teacher swings in to rescue trapped students. She weaves a virtual cocoon for me and for you. We enter as one, but we leave as two. In the chrysalis of support from which we all momentarily reside, the teacher whispers, the words you know, the meaning you miss. Listen here while I show you how to avoid the abyss. Wisdom is shared and a butterfly emerges, all only possible when tech and teaching converges. Thank you. Woo! And I'm excited to see Justine Poitevin is here. She's going to be sharing as well. And in our very, very first EdTech Poetry Slam that we ran in Australia, the birth of the Ed Poet Society, you won our inaugural competition. So we've got a poetry champion coming up as well. But my 2 minutes is clearly up. So I'm going to zip my lips and I'm going to pass over, back over the ditch to my Kiwi brother.
Kia ora, Brett. Yeah, so my 2 minutes are pretty quick. So New Zealand is very much in the idea of incorporating te ao Māori, or the Māori word, mataranga Māori, or Māori knowledge, into our curriculum. And so my book idea is basically focusing around how New Zealand educators are incorporating the Indigenous knowledge, or the Māori knowledge, into the New Zealand curriculum. So the idea will be to provide authentic Māori voices and how they've implemented it in the classroom. Concepts, for example, for our non-New Zealand watchers, like whanaungatanga or whakawhanaungatanga. So that's the idea of developing a classroom which is more like a family, a whānau. So the importance of relationships, which is the heart really of the New Zealand curriculum. So yeah, so basically my idea behind my book will be kind of developing ways that educators can potentially incorporate some of the ideas that we're using in New Zealand through Indigenous knowledge into their own teaching practice and improve the outcomes for their learners, which is actually under 2 minutes. So I've actually done quite fast. But anyway, if you want to contact me, I'm at Dr_Harves on Twitter, Dr_Harves, a little Lego man on Instagram, and my LinkedIn profile is there as well, Dr. Michael Harvey. Ngā mihi nui and araha to us all. Okay,
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Look, I've got the time going, Kelly. So if anyone goes over, don't worry. We'll give you a shout. You don't need to stress. I'm excited. One of my favourite podcasters, someone who I listen to in my morning walks, Kelly Chase. You're up on deck.
Fantastic. Hi, everyone. My name's Kelly Chase. I'm a high school history teacher, and I've got a podcast called History Detective, and I created it in the pandemic, and it's basically because I'm a passionate advocate about embedding women's perspectives in the history curriculum, and there's not enough of them in the current textbooks and resources that are available. So I tell a lot of stories about women in my podcast, and some First Nations stories, and there's some men that get in there too. But today's story, I want to tell you about an amazing First Nations warrior woman we are in Reconciliation Week, and her name is Tara Norara. She was born in Tasmania around the year 1800, and when she was a teenager, she was abducted and sold to sealers on the Bass Strait Islands and lived with them for several years as a slave. So you can imagine what horrible things happened to her there. She paid attention to how they used guns, and she eventually escaped, returned back to her country, where she led a group of men and women who were fighting against the colonists in Tasmania. And she taught the tribes about the weaknesses of the white men in terms of attacking in the small window when they were reloading their weapons. This period in history is called the Black Wars, and the colonists were trying to remove all the First Nation people to an island, to Flinders Island. It was called a friendly mission. Unfortunately, she was captured and she ended up in captivity on this friendly mission, and also ended up dying because of influenza, actually. Sadly, that she was 31 when that happened, but she is just one of the amazing women who will be featured on my podcast. And I'm also going to have an entire book about women in history that can be used as stories in the classroom for history teachers, to show our girls in the classroom that their voices matter in history too, and it's not just all boys club in history. So if you want to hear this in the meantime, before the book comes out, check out the podcast. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Kelly.
I gave
Thanks
you
so much.
15 seconds. I'm generosity itself.
We had to work on James and his timing. So for those who are the uninitiated with a TeachMeet, normally when you actually at a TeachMeet, someone has the job of being the timer, and we load up with some stuffed toys. And if you go over your time, you get your nice little bell, your warning. And if you keep going after about 30 seconds, you start getting stuffed animals thrown at you until you stop talking and get off the stage. So it's nice, short, sharp learning. And with that, James, your turn, brother. Your turn to shine.
Okay, and I've started my 2 minutes. Please time along as you go. I am aware of the 2 minute times, very aware. So I have a tool that can save most teachers about 30 hours of planning per year, and I have made this tool. So this slide here just shows you how to do it, but please don't worry, there is a real-time video to feed thing. The only thing you really need to know is the website, which is Google RDPT. Now, I'm aware that I have 2 minutes and I want to stick to it. So all I want to highlight to you here is that you do have to give permission, because this is in beta. It hasn't been audited by Google, but I have made it for you so you can trust me. So this Google hasn't verified this app is an important statement, and then we do it. But once you've installed it, what are some of the things that you can do with this? And that's the key point. It will tell you the vocabulary difficulty, how difficult this is going to be for a student. And it's so important, especially for students who don't have English as a first language. It will now highlight low frequency words, and it will even give you the types of speech for those words. So you know if it's an adjective or an adverb, it might not be as important, for example, say as a noun. You can add a low frequency word table. It now includes a dictionary, which is fantastic. And you can highlight parts of speech, either low frequency words or all of the words that are nouns. And you can generate a spreadsheet so you can highlight the linguistics. Basically, it is absolutely everything you need to learn to teach English. And my book, of course, will be about programming, so you can make tools like this yourself. Job done on time. Thank you.
Thanks so much, James. And you know what? Thanks so much for being so, I guess, influential and bringing a huge Malaysian audience to our initial launch of our APACsplash gathering here. So thanks to James, thanks to all of our Malaysian educators, and thanks to everyone who's joining us too. We've got a real, genuinely international sort of a group here to kick off today. Looks like we've got Maz from up north.
Yeah. Okay. So hi, everyone. I'm Marion Ellery. Many of you know me as Maz. I've been teaching for 16 years. I originally started in Melbourne, where I was born, and then moved across to London for a few years, and recently made the move to Darwin. So I just like to acknowledge the Larrakia people, because that's the land on which I'm speaking today. I feel actually really blessed. I've made a move to teach in Indigenous education. So I actually teach students from communities all over the NT and WA at the moment. So this is an exciting change in my career. Something else that I'm really passionate about is helping students to deal with conflict. Now, this is something that I've seen across all the different ages that I have taught and all over the world as well. Something that starts off in their initial conversations is someone will cause harm to them. So someone might say, oh, I'm sorry, and the other person will say, it's okay. But what that other person is actually hearing is that hitting them in the face was okay, or saying unkind things was actually okay, when clearly it was not okay. So I actually want to help children to actually learn better ways and I statements and different things that they can actually communicate to the person that has caused them harm. So that's really inspired my book. So I'm a little bit different to everybody else. I'm actually writing a children's book, and this will help children to know a better message to send to the person that's causing them harm. So that's me in a snapshot.
Thanks so much, Maz. And I'm very excited that I'm going to be able to come up to the Northern Territory soon. And for those of you who don't know, obviously, Maz welcomed from the Larrakia nation there. And my grandmother, obviously being part Larrakia, I've got a strong connection to Maz, and I'm looking forward to coming on country to see my extended family, and then obviously to connect with you hopefully soon, Maz.
In person.
Yay! Real life connections. Who would have guessed it? Oh, Queenslander next. Here we go.
Boom. Hi, everyone. Awesome to be part of this group. There's so much we could say about the talent and the ideas, but I think what I love most is that most of us, we're all being like classroom teachers, and we have something to share. And this group is about highlighting that and giving voice to that across APAC. So, huge thanks to the vision of Brett and Matt also around that. And what I really want to be focusing on for the book, my contribution, I guess, is making XR. There's current trends you might think about. Digital is extending out into reality, digital becoming more and more important to our everyday lives, but also automation in the background. And we could chat heaps about that, the impact on future jobs, et cetera, at some time. But what I love about XR, so we're talking AR, VR, 3D objects, 360-degree stuff, is that if you're making that, if you've got some simple tools to make that, you're actually ticking both those boxes, giving kids a chance to thrive in that sort of digital future, but also improving their creativity, their chances of having a go in an automated future. So got a few little links there. If you want to check out CoSpaces, that's one of the tools I'll be focusing on. And I popped a link in the chat also. Get a little preview of a mini book version of what I've started working on a couple of years ago, in this space, to try and bring those two things together. And I'd encourage, if you want to just sort of see what's possible, what are other teachers and even kids making, go to the cospaces.io, click on the gallery tab, and just have a browse what people are making and what's actually possible, maybe for you as a teacher, potentially to make your own sort of engaging content, but also what are students going to be able to make as well. So I can't wait to contribute that. And let's keep supporting APACsplash, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity. It's me. Boom.
Nice techie one, close to my heart. It's fantastic, Jono. Love that. Who do we have next, James? See you, Dan. See you, Dan. For those people, Dan's just said goodbye. For those people who don't know, check out Dan on Fuse Sports too. A pretty innovative man just in himself there. But Justine, one of my favourite peoples.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much for the welcome today. And I also will acknowledge that this is National Reconciliation Week, and I'm coming to you from a city called Wollongong, which is about an hour south of Sydney. And I'm sitting on the land of the Dharawal people, and I'd absolutely like to pay my respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Wollongong is also the host of the ICC World Bike Championship. So if anybody is, into bikes and things like that, then you'll be seeing my hometown featured pretty prominently in that. So I'm here flying the early childhood flag very proudly as well. I've been an early childhood educator for, a long time, over 25 years now. And my book that I'll be working on is about actually hearing the voices from the early childhood sector. We do early childhood pretty well here in Australia. We're pretty proud of what we do. There's lots of improvements that surely need to be made, obviously, and it's a difficult space for us to be working in. And so I'm really interested in hearing why people are still actually, working in under difficult circumstances. However, so today, it's ironic that I'm talking about voices in early childhood because for the last 2 weeks I've had laryngitis. So it's nice to be back talking. I'm going to share into the chat pod a number of actual voices of early childhood. So some people who are really influential in the early childhood space. So some people that we get from Twitter and some people that we get from Facebook. Interestingly, Facebook seems to be the place where most early childhood educators seem to gather, and not as individuals, but in groups. So I'm going to share a couple of handles into the chat pod there. It's been lovely seeing you all, and I hope that you have a great rest of the week and weekend, and look forward to seeing everybody's books published. Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Go, Kelly, go, Kelly. Don't let me interrupt. No,
Tyler is really just messing with me.
I'm not going to let James kick you off. Don't worry about
it. He doesn't have the power, mate.
Kelly Grogan here. I'm based in the USA right now, but I've spent the past 15 years in Hong Kong. So both are very much my homes. I'd like to share a little bit about my book that will be centering on building learning innovation hubs. John Jang, former financial secretary of Hong Kong and founder of Esperanza, shares the key to progress and the well-being of a society is education. We all play a part. And to win at the starting line, he says we must leverage cross-sector collaboration as a catalyst. Vic Lee, Tencent co-founder and my co-founder in Catalyst Education Lab, asks, if life is inevitably manipulated virtually, how should people survive, or how can people survive in the jungles of technology, with the virtual world being part of ourselves, invisibly affecting our emotions, behaviors, and the values of everyone who's in it? And Leo Reif, president of MIT, shares that we will do more than talk about the greatest problems facing our world. We will set the course to solve them. With the development of Web 3.0 technologies, we're moving towards a time where learning will be anywhere, boundaries of school will be disappearing, and the key to addressing our larger problems are through the relationships that bring together those with ties to the problem and those with the ability to solve it. So through accelerators, incubators, ideathons, hackathons, we have catalysts to grow ideas, perspectives, people, and edtech entrepreneurship. So the movement to democratize innovation in education is here. It starts with us as educators working together to build this networked community. So thank you for being part of the community.
Thank you, Kelly. I was a big right on time too. Right on time. I could see James with his countdown. I will say, I have known Kelly online for quite some time now, and we've got some lovely shared friends. And it was a couple of years ago I actually got to see Kelly speak in person on the Gold Coast at Kathy Hunt, who's also going to be one of our contributors as well. So Kathy Hunt, probably one of the probably the best art educators and leaders in Australia as well. If you don't know Kathy Hunt, make sure you check out Kathy Hunt. But Kelly is one of the most inspirational speakers that I've ever seen present. I was already a fan of yours before I saw you speak, and then I tell you now, I have spoken very, very highly of you more times than I could probably count, Kelly, without you knowing. So I'm super chuffed to be able to have you as part of this community. And as we build this out, and it's fantastic, I'm looking over and I can see good old Greg Miller, and I can see Caroline and Juliet from across the ditch, and Marie from over in Western Australia. I can see so many fantastic people that I know, but I know we've got so many people already as supporters, already as contributors. Look, as this grows, who knows how big this can be, how big this can become. We've got Alfina. I'm going to keep twisting your arm, Alfina, to get a book over the line as soon as you've settled after you've done your move to regional New South Wales. So, look, here is our chance to be able to really, I guess, take stock of the stories and the narratives that we want to be able to share. We can have a look at our personal journeys. We can have a look at what is happening in our little corner of the world. And we might have little voices individually when we think about the entire education system around the world. But together, as our nice big Asia Pacific conglomerate, our APACsplash, we can together echo each other's voices, make a significant difference, be able to share from our corner of the world, our experiences, our stories, share that all the way around the globe. And if we echo each other loud enough, we'll make the whole world hear what we've got to say. So look, that's my dream. That's my hope. And I cannot believe from some casual conversations with Matt, how we've been able to bring this all together. And I just can't be thankful enough. I am not so excited for what the future holds. Everyone who you've heard speak today is in the process of producing a book as part of the APACsplash series. Plus, we've got about 10 other people who didn't speak today, who are also actually already signed up and have a writing contract, who are producing a book. So we've got about 18 books sort of in the works, so to speak, coming from our little region, and hopefully more to come. So if you're interested, if you're listening in and you want to take part, you reach out. We'd love to be able to echo your voice too. But together, and that's that community that you were talking about, Kelly, in that LinkedIn post, that together, that community that we can build is going to be something really special and really powerful. Thanks so much, anyone. Is there anyone else who wants to say anything before we wrap up today?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to also finish with the karakia as well, if that's possible.
Of course.
Yep. Okay. I'll just. Okay. So I te whānau hui whaia te maturanga kia marama kia whae taki ngā mahi katoa tu mai tu kaha aroha atu araha mai tātou e a tātou katoa. So for this gathering, we've sought knowledge for understanding. We've had purpose in all that we've done. We've stood tall. We've been strong. It is show respect for each other. Kia kaha.